Right now, as you watch this, California's most famous highway is sliding into the Pacific Ocean. Not in some distant future, today. Highway 1, the ribbon of asphalt that connects California's soul to its coastline, is creeping seaward at 2 to 5 millimeters every single day, but that's just the beginning of a crisis so vast, so relentless, that by the time I finish telling you this story, you'll understand why entire communities are preparing to abandon the Golden State's golden shores forever. The alarm bells started ringing in January 2023, but most of California missed the warning. While the state focused on atmospheric rivers and flooding, something far more sinister was happening along the coast. The storms weren't just bringing water, they were stealing land. In a single night, Pacifica lost 10 meters of clifftop. That's 30 years of normal erosion compressed into 12 hours of terror. But January was just the preview. October brought the sequel, and it was worse. Dana Point's protective seawalls cracked like eggshells. Santa Cruz County watched 5 meters of bluff simply vanish, taking boardwalks and beach access with it. The Orange County Register reported that planned seawall repairs were delayed due to funding shortages, leaving residents exposed to the next storm surge. These aren't isolated incidents. They're symptoms of something unprecedented happening along California's 1,100-mile coastline. Over 70% of it is now actively eroding, not slowly, not gradually, but at rates that are shattering every historical record scientists have ever kept. The numbers are staggering, but they don't tell the human story. On social media, residents are documenting their terror in real time. Every storm feels like a countdown, wrote one Pacifica homeowner. My backyard is literally crumbling into the ocean. We can't afford to move. Highway 1 closures have become routine, stranding communities for days at a time. Emergency services are stretched beyond capacity. And every morning, California wakes up a little bit smaller than it was the day before. This isn't a natural disaster. It's a slow-motion apocalypse, and it's accelerating. What's happening to California's coast defies everything we thought we knew about erosion. For generations, the Pacific has been a predictable adversary, stealing inches per year through natural processes. But climate change has weaponized the ocean itself, turning gentle waves into liquid sledgehammers. Sea levels are rising at 8 to 10 millimeters per year along parts of California's coast. That's 0.3 to 0.4 inches annually, double the global average due to land subsidence. But it's not just the height of the water that's deadly. It's the energy behind it. El Niño has transformed California's winters into demolition seasons. Storm wave energy has increased by 20 to 30% during peak winter months, creating a perfect storm of destruction. When these supercharged waves collide with higher sea levels, the result is catastrophic. Cliff retreat rates have exploded from historical averages of centimeters per year to half a meter to a full meter annually in vulnerable areas. The physics are terrifyingly simple. Higher water means waves strike cliffs at previously safe elevations. More powerful waves carry exponentially more erosive force. Saturated soils become unstable, triggering landslides that can remove decades of coastline in minutes. But here's what makes this crisis uniquely horrifying: it's compounding. Each storm doesn't just cause damage, it makes the coastline more vulnerable to the next storm. Protective beaches disappear, exposing bare cliffs to direct wave attack. Natural barriers erode away, allowing storm surges to penetrate deeper inland. Scientists at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography have documented something that should terrify every Californian. Erosion rates are doubling every decade. What takes a year today will take 6 months in 2030. The question isn't whether California's coast will change. It's how much will be left when the transformation is complete. Stay with me, because the human cost of this scientific nightmare is just beginning to unfold. Behind every meter of lost coastline is a human story of terror, loss, and impossible choices. In Pacifica, families are living on borrowed time, watching their properties literally crumble beneath their feet. One resident posted on social media, "You can hear the ocean eating away at the cliff at night. It's like a monster under your house." Over 1,200 homes and businesses along California's coast face immediate risk of damage or total loss. That's not a projection, that's today's reality. More than 300,000 residents live in high-risk flood and erosion zones, their lives hanging in the balance of the next storm system. The psychological toll is devastating. Families who invested their life savings in coastal dreams now face financial ruin. Insurance companies are fleeing the coast faster than the residents, leaving homeowners trapped with unmarketable properties. "We can't sleep during storms," a Santa Cruz homeowner confessed. "Every winter feels like a gamble." In February 2023, a Pacifica family evacuated their home just hours before a cliff collapse destroyed their backyard deck. They were the lucky ones. A resident walking their dog near Santa Cruz missed death by 10 feet when a cliff section suddenly gave way. "Never going back there," they wrote online. The trauma still evident in their words. But perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect is the helplessness. These aren't wealthy elites with multiple properties. They're working families, retirees, people whose entire net worth is tied to homes that are sliding into the sea. "We don't know how much longer we can stay," wrote one Santa Cruz resident. "Every storm takes a little more of our home." The human infrastructure is collapsing too. When Highway 1 closes, and it does repeatedly, entire communities become islands. Medical emergencies become death sentences. Supply chains break down. Children miss school. The elderly are trapped without access to essential services. The scientific community is no longer mincing words about California's coastal crisis. Dr. Gary Griggs from UC Santa Cruz, one of the state's leading coastal geologists, has issued a stark warning. Sea level rise isn't a future problem. It's happening now, and our communities are paying the price. His assessment is shared by NOAA climate scientists, who emphasize that climate change is making storms stronger and more frequent. This is the new normal. The implications are staggering. What California is experiencing isn't an anomaly. It's the beginning of a permanent transformation. The California Coastal Commission has abandoned diplomatic language entirely. Their latest report projects that 31 to 67% of Southern California beaches could disappear by 2100 under current sea level rise scenarios. But the Commission's spokesperson delivered an even more chilling assessment. "We're spending millions on temporary fixes, but without long-term solutions, we're just delaying the inevitable." Dr. Griggs has proposed the most controversial solution of all: retreat. Retreat is the only sustainable option for many coastal areas, he argues, advocating for managed relocation over costly seawalls. The alternative, he warns, is watching entire communities slide into the Pacific. Federal scientists echo these concerns. NOAA's latest briefings confirmed that the January storms demonstrated how fast things can change. One night of rain, and entire cliffs were gone. The agency's models suggest that without massive intervention, current erosion rates will continue accelerating through 2050 and beyond. These aren't alarmist predictions. They're mathematical certainties based on current trends and known climate projections. The crisis isn't stabilizing, it's accelerating in ways that defy every historical precedent. What took the infamous 1982-83 El Niño event an entire season to accomplish, today's storms achieve in single nights. The January 2023 atmospheric rivers removed more coastline in some areas than the previous decade combined. This acceleration follows a terrifying pattern. Each storm system doesn't just cause isolated damage, it systematically weakens the entire coastal defense system. Protective beaches that took centuries to form disappear in hours. Natural rock barriers that deflected wave energy for millennia crumble under supercharged storm surges. The economic cascades are already visible. Tourism, California's $44 billion coastal industry, faces systemic collapse as beaches vanish and infrastructure fails. Local budgets are hemorrhaging money on emergency repairs that barely last until the next storm. Santa Cruz County alone spent millions replacing the same stretch of coastal infrastructure 3 times in 2023. But the most ominous pattern is the feedback loop. Climate change intensifies storms, which accelerate erosion, which removes natural protections, which makes coastlines more vulnerable to the next storm. Each cycle is worse than the last, and the intervals between catastrophic events are shrinking. California's own emergency management officials admit they're fighting a losing battle. Local budgets can't keep up with the scale of this crisis, a Santa Cruz County supervisor recently confessed. State officials are already discussing managed retreat for entire neighborhoods. The pattern is clear. What starts as millimeters per day becomes meters per storm. And the storms are coming faster. Stay with me, because understanding where this crisis came from reveals why it's about to get much, much worse. California has faced coastal erosion before, but never like this. The 1982-83 El Niño event remains the benchmark for coastal destruction, causing over $1 billion in damages. That's $3 billion in today's money. Entire neighborhoods in Pacifica were condemned. Highway 1 required complete reconstruction in multiple locations. The 1997-98 El Niño delivered a second devastating blow, proving that catastrophic coastal events weren't isolated anomalies. But both of those disasters occurred when sea levels were significantly lower and storm systems were less intense. What makes today's crisis unprecedented isn't just the scale, it's the baseline. The calm periods between storms now feature higher sea levels and more frequent extreme weather than the worst storms of previous generations. Scientists have documented that current erosion rates during normal weather exceed the peak erosion rates recorded during the 1982-83 catastrophe. Right now, California's coast exists in a state of continuous emergency. Highway 1 maintenance crews perform daily inspections, knowing that sections of roadway can become impassable overnight. Emergency services maintain elevated response protocols year-round, not just during traditional storm seasons. The immediate threat level varies by location, but nowhere is truly safe. Pacifica remains under constant evacuation watch, with dozens of homes red-tagged for immediate danger. The city has essentially surrendered entire neighborhoods to the sea, focusing resources on managed retreat rather than futile protection efforts. But what's happening to California's coast isn't just about California anymore. Federal agencies are studying the crisis as a preview of what's coming for coastal communities nationwide. The Army Corps of Engineers has designated multiple California coastal segments as national priority areas, acknowledging that local resources are completely overwhelmed. The current threat isn't measured in years anymore, it's measured in storm cycles. Every weather system that approaches California's coast carries the potential to trigger the next phase of infrastructure collapse. Are you prepared for what happens when America's most famous highway disappears completely? Because that's no longer a question of if, but when. The next major storm system could trigger cascading failures that reshape California's coast permanently. Computer models project 3 increasingly likely scenarios, none of them ending well for coastal communities. Scenario 1. Highway 1 suffers multiple simultaneous failures during the next major El Niño event, scheduled to peak in 2024-2025. Emergency services lose access to isolated communities for weeks. Economic losses exceed $10 billion as tourism collapses and supply chains break down. Scenario 2. A series of atmospheric rivers, similar to January 2023, but occurring during king tides and peak El Niño conditions, triggers synchronized cliff collapses from San Diego to San Francisco. Entire coastal neighborhoods are evacuated permanently. Property values in coastal areas collapse, creating a regional economic crisis. Scenario 3, the compound disaster scenario. Multiple storm systems strike while sea levels continue rising, creating a feedback loop of destruction that overwhelms all emergency response capabilities. California faces the forced relocation of hundreds of thousands of residents from coastal areas. But here's what keeps coastal scientists awake at night. These scenarios assume current rates of change. If erosion rates continue doubling every decade as documented, even these projections may be conservative. The California Coastal Commission estimates that without massive federal intervention, coastal erosion and flooding damages could reach $8 to $10 billion by 2050. But their own models suggest this timeline may be accelerating. Federal emergency planners are already developing contingency plans for the potential abandonment of entire coastal communities. The question isn't whether California will lose significant portions of its coast. It's whether the retreat will be managed or chaotic. Despite billions spent on emergency repairs and temporary fixes, California's coastal crisis continues to accelerate beyond every intervention. Seawalls crack faster than they can be rebuilt. Beach nourishment projects wash away in single storms. Rock revetments that cost millions per mile provide protection measured in months, not years. The fundamental problem remains unsolved. You cannot fight the ocean and win. Every defensive measure California has attempted addresses symptoms, while the underlying cause, rising seas and intensified storms, grows stronger each year. Governor Newsom declared states of emergency, unlocked federal funding, and deployed every resource available to state government. None of it has slowed the rate of coastal destruction. If anything, the crisis has accelerated since the state's most aggressive intervention efforts began. Meanwhile, climate change continues its relentless advance. Sea levels will continue rising for centuries. Even if global emissions stop tomorrow, storm systems will continue intensifying as atmospheric temperatures climb. The forces destroying California's coast are literally unstoppable with current technology. Perhaps most ominously, this crisis is spreading. Other coastal states are documenting similar acceleration in erosion rates. Florida, North Carolina, and Maine are all reporting unprecedented coastal destruction patterns. California isn't an isolated case, it's the preview. The ocean has already won this war. The only question remaining is how much of coastal California will still exist when the fighting stops. The waves are winning, and California's retreat has already begun. Every day brings new casualties in a war that cannot be won. Subscribe now to stay informed as America's most iconic coastline disappears forever. One storm at a time.